Oh, we want to adopt the new. So please join me on the pledge. Changes that we can make. You want to move from 9 to 7. And then in that case, you can actually help us.
Excuse me, I have the roll call for the next. Glad to outreach.
Let's start with the roll call.
We would try and reach out to the Commission Chair, Francisco City Culture Center, people that are very involved in recreation and parks and recreation in general. The coaches, secretary, and interest for that, especially right now in this situation, they might want to have a say in what happens with recreation, with parks and rec in general.
Oh, okay, here, present.
People that will be involved. And Council Member Juan Duran, the department mentioned he was going to be a few minutes late.
Yeah, I think as a lot of the new initiatives come into play,
Thank you.
Be twofold. It'll assist with the rebranding and reimaging of the Parks and Rec department, and also assist in, I guess, reminding the community that Parks and Rec isn't just about sports. There's more to the Parks and Rec department, including art, culture, and other programs that are different different as right word, from hitting a ball, playing basketball, baseball, whatever. It's not just for
any form of
it's not just on horrible, but for your athletic. There are other aspects. Because I think that's one of the items that maybe preventing some individuals to maybe join the church is that they think you need to have a background.
Number 5, call to the public.
I myself do not have a background.
This is the time for the public to comment. Members of the Parks and Recreation Commission may not discuss items that are not specifically identified in the agenda.
But I mean, we need more individuals that have different backgrounds, different points of view to assist decision.
3101.
So as I mentioned,
action taken.
I think the rebranding
will be limited to the relevant staff to study the matter. Responding to any criticism or suggestion on the matter for consideration.
Those are the baseball. There's more to it.
We have anyone
as we have more programs, it'll hopefully grow into something bigger and better.
This one is item number 6. All different. 6.1, update on Commission social media page, website, Commission Vice Chair.
It is around here because most of the discussion was about the discontent with the rules of baseball, and as Cervantes said, I'm not a sport person, okay? I'm very bad at sports. But little by little, somehow I managed to start.
Good evening,
so I wonder.
Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission. So I'm going to provide a quick update on our website and some of our social media page updates as well. Previously, we had discussed updating the website to be more, I guess, crisper and provide access to information a bit more easily. There's been a few modifications made to the site. Let me see if I can.
As I said, discuss this more in the next meeting to see if we can actually present something to the City Council for them to have with the changes that we want to.
So in front of you, you'll see the website as it currently is. There are a few modifications to the navigation toolbar on top. It's a bit less cluttered than what it was before. You'll see it's been broken down into 4 main sections. You have the homepage, the community involvement, and of course the More tab. Let's focus on the main page. A few modifications to the once again the menu bar on top. I removed the Parks and Recreation Facility update, which was limited to limited use due to COVID restrictions. The area off to the right hand side of the webpage, and it does list that as the Parks and Recreation Facility use. It goes back to limited due to COVID-19 restrictions, and it'll remain that way till we are directed by City Council that all facilities are fully open back to the public. Scrolling down, nothing really changed with the welcome. We kept that. The next change was the main landing tab. It was renamed to Information at a Glance, and there is a About Us tab. You click on it, you'll be directed to
Why not be
what
part
individuals
of
have
the
kind of
commission?
gotten used to seeing.
Have somebody that has that
I did
background
add
in arts,
for a list of your current commissioners, please click the link.
culture
And it'll
aspect.
take you to our current listing of
They have different components.
commissioners with the
There may be
commission.
somebody in landscaping.
At this point, since it's only
that
4 of us,
help us out with
it only lists our 4 main bodies that are there and the vacant seats that are
So do I wait?
present as well.
In the right channel, just wait for next meeting to decide what we're gonna do, or do I include it on the agenda for?
Meetings and agendas, nothing really changed
by
there.
council as soon as
There
possible.
is a listing of upcoming meetings all the way
Include
until
an
June.
agenda to be reviewed by
It'll list the
council as
dates
soon as
and times
possible
to
would be
click
my
on it for
suggestion.
individuals
What
who
do you
may be
guys think?
interested in getting more detailed information as to when we meet and where we meet as well.
We need to have at least one more, but 7 will be the magic number. I have seen
The bigger changes as well, before we used to have an icon that was listed and labeled as community give back and sponsorship. That's been replaced by community involvement, because we actually do more than just the scholarships.
Yeah, the last year, I mean, and kind of
There is a description here. This will be clear from scratch as well. It goes over what the commission does,
Is that
and of course our motto of serving the residents of Somerton with pride, which that is what we aim for, to not only act as that direct voice between our citizens and the Somerton with regard to parks, recreations, and essentially other areas within the city of Somerton. Below it, there's a few pictures that highlight some of the past donations and events that we've been a part of. These are the ones that we participated in so far. As you can see, it does have some of the older commission members, which is fine, but I'd also like to say that this should also serve a reminder to us that we need to be a little bit more involved and try to get out there as much as possible. I know with COVID-19 and the restrictions in place, it kind of is hard for us to be out and about, but at least try to stay true to our mission. But that was in addition to the website. There are a few other donations that we made, but we don't have a picture since they were free us highlighting those donations. If individuals don't see their organization up there, it's not because we forgot about you. It's that we didn't have a picture to place up there.
Definitely, yes, I understand your point. As Commissioner Secretary Edwards mentioned, the sooner the better. So,
and of course, our flagship community program, the Yard of the Month, logo's been replaced with a picture of the sign and how it looks like. It still looks the same like the old page did. There were a few modifications made to the submission form though. The email address field was added so that we can contact individuals outside of just their telephone number. And it is dual purpose as well, as when a form is submitted, they'll get a confirmation receipt as well. It is a referred field, so as long as they entered a legitimate real address that goes back to them, they'll receive a message from the website stating that their nomination form has been submitted, and somebody will be making contact with them soon. Also added was not a robot capture at the bottom, because we were receiving tons of spam mail, which is expected since this is a publicly accessible web form. Has been activated. We've seen a drop down in spam messages by about probably 98%. Not that it was a whole lot of spam messages to begin with, but at least we're not getting those bots that are emailing us that we won the lottery or that they're trying to provide a service for us. So it's cut down on the spam. I'm currently working on automating the message itself, where when the form is submitted, it'll forward that submission over to us automatically. Currently, I have to manually forward it on to everybody within the group. So that is one thing that is pending, at least with the web form at this time. And stating that there is a picture to be past current winners for Yard of the Month. We have had two submissions at this point. And then there are pictures of the winners in front of our property. This is our latest one for last month, the Figueroa family.
Showing that we have already
and of course our
internal discussion and would like
are dictating the first Yard of the Month recognition for Ms. Maria Guzman as well, back in November of 2020.
I'd like the motion that,
and hopefully, as we have more participation in the program, this will keep growing. I know we did have a submission a few days ago, and that was forwarded to everybody for their review and feedback as well. So hopefully, we'll have a February 2021 Yard of the Month announced soon.
I'd like to second that motion.
okay, so, it has been second, let's vote.
Air quality flag program, nothing really changed there. We moved away from the generic
Sorry,
picture that was here.
Sorry,
This was taken during the open house / announcement to the air quality program about 2 years ago, I believe now.
Yes,
But beyond that, nothing else has changed. It still has information on the program and the direct links to the state of Arizona that handles or is the primary point of contact for the air quality program.
Jesus, tell me, would you then to kind of draft a letter? Do you list the, and then we take you to the website here, do you list the documents on which the flag is, I'm gonna have it, it's being displayed. And with that in mind, let's move on to item number 5.
There
update
is
on the Commission
a-
Yellow Demand Program. That's myself. I did actually, the pictures that
No, not here. We did have a photo that was used as part of the announcement at one point, but it needs to be updated. So once that photo is updated, it'll go over the fact sheet that is more local to Somerton than the state fact sheets that are listed below.
I spoke to them both, the husband and wife, property, and they were
Yes.
happy, excited, and they said, hey, if my neighbor actually got the Yard of the Month,
Our current flag program encompasses the 3 flagship parks, which is Joe Council, and
been working on the yard, it's unfortunately.
I keep calling it Main Street Park, but I know it has I think it's ACC.
Winter and a lot of their plants are not.
I mean, that's the 3 facilities that currently have the program.
I've seen the property, the months of March, April, it looks good.
There is a Did You Know page. It's not listed on the primary page, mostly because we haven't had anything submitted for that's unique to Somerton. We had the birthday one, of course, the tobacco-free zones, and the community fishing program. Based on information that is being gathered off of the City of Somerton and City of Somerton Parks and Recreation Facebook page, the next Did You Know pack will be focusing on the path.
Yes, I did. Yes, thank you.
The walking path. It'll be kind of similar to what you see on the screen with the community.
Thank you.
We're going to list the number of miles that the paths encompass and try to get a map of all the paths in Somerton. I know the path that runs along Cesar Chavez is limited at this point due to construction. But it'll at least serve as a good reminder that we do have outdoor facilities that can be used. They can be used by anybody, whether you're walking, riding the bike, or walking your dog. And to coincide with that, there will also be, Did You Know, that kind of focuses on walking pets on the path. Serve as a reminder that there are doggy bags located throughout the paths, and people are encouraged to clean up after their pets. You know, that has been a major discussion point that's been brought up by several citizens in the past. And they are stocked. I know I ride my bike from time to time through the paths, and you kind of look at the doggy bag retention, but at the doggy bag distribution post, and they are fully stocked. Is that it seems that individuals may not be fully using those doggy bags to clean up after their pets. So that'll be another kind of tidbit that'll be developed within the next few months. And of course, we do encourage the public. If the public does have something that they'd like us to kind of do a Did You Know segment on, you're more welcome to email us, or they are more welcome to email us and provide us that information. I know at one point we were researching the old Gallagher pool.
Continue with this.
But I think that kind of
It will be everyone.
fell through to a certain extent. We weren't able to find photos of the facility that were in pristine condition. There were a few photos that were awesome, but the quality of them had deteriorated due to age, so we weren't able to use them. But that's not to say that we're not going to refocus on that. But it is another example of stuff that we'll be creating a segment on. There's also one that is going to focus on the old time capsule that was on Main Street across from the current Del Sol, between the old police department and the existing religious facility next door. Apparently it made national news. It was actually on the Colbert Report because there was a bottle of fine brandy that was put in that time capsule, and when that time capsule was open, that brandy was not there. So I mean, it did make national news and focus on Somerton. So that'll be another item that'll be coming along the line as well within the next 2 months. So I know the website kind of fell into disarray, but that's due to other items as far as not having enough material and focusing on the website. And then, of course, we have links and resources. We do back to the City of Somerton and Rec Desk. So those are the main sites that citizens usually ask about, like, where do I go to register for sports programs? That's usually the high traffic webpage. And of course, the general City of Somerton government page and their Facebook. One thing I forgot to cover, though, under agendas, upcoming meetings and agendas, it's towards the bottom. The city has moved on to a new software that posts agendas.
I'll second the motion.
That direct individuals to the city's agenda website, and of course, recorded sessions are available for the public to view as well.
Anyone in favor, say aye.
Currently, the page is being distributed in English. I'm still finalizing the Spanish version of it, so it'll also be available in Spanish.
Thank you. So,
and individuals will be able to easily switch back and forth between English and Spanish. A lot of our population is Spanish speaking.
Spanish, do you want me to?
With that being said, are there any questions regarding the website? I know it was kind of a lot of information to go through, but nonetheless, this is our public-facing service as far as our footprint on the internet. It should be noted as well, within the next few weeks, I'll be touching base with City of Somerton Parks and Recreation, Mr. Mesa, to proceed with the finalization of our subscription to purchase our domain and remove the wix.com at the beginning, or actually at the end of our web address. So it should it'll read appropriately moving forward. And it'll also establish a business email account that will allow us to set up that automated web form submission, so we can have it whitelisted by the city and have it deliver those messages to our distribution.
It'll be the yard of the month from January the 20th to February the 20th. Those certificates can be issued.
I just have a comment. I just think that this website you created, Jesus, is amazing. I mean, it's just professional and welcoming and just wow. I mean, aesthetically it looks amazing, and the content, how you put everything together, how you organized, is just beautiful. I just want to commend you for that. I think it's just amazing, and gosh, I wish we can give you a stipend for all that hard work. That must have been hours and hours and hours of work you put into that. It looks amazing. So thank you for your contribution.
I just want to tag along.
Yes, that'll be for Mr. Hector and Mrs. Garcia.
You actually made it so easy to navigate. It's like walking into a library. Where do you want to go for here? So it's very, very, very friendly. I think just by having four main
someone to actually take pictures last time.
departments, and that actually makes things easier.
There's graphics there, yeah.
plantings. And I like especially customization, the more do you know facts and things like that. Actually, we can involve people from the public and all the information. There is a lot of history in Somerton that we can actually start putting little either videos or photos or facts. Like, for example, the 1960 city council 1960s. I do have I found and
right now, you mean like the nominations?
Yeah, the original city council.
Yeah, I think it's a dual. Or it was supposed to be dual.
Before it was actually, so things like that we can add it. So
I think for the most part,
just by
if we can take the lead as far as
the job that you have done so far in this. It's amazing. It's
moving to the side and stuff. The only
I'm not a savvy
city,
computer.
my understanding would be for the PR side,
simply
taking of the picture and
opening the different links that you have there available.
Oh, and the certificate of.
No, yeah, and thank you. And there's more to come. I mean, we've discussed it in the past as a commission. We are more than just the parks and sports. We also encompass art, history.
The nomination portion is fully automated now. So anytime anybody,
as we move forward, and I know the Somerton Parks and Recreation is also revamping their image and bringing programs back to the city that cover those main staples. We'll be side by side focusing and promoting those programs as well. So it is dual purpose, and once again, does go back to not only our mission statement, but the mission statement for the City Parks and Recreation Department. So barring any other questions or comments with the website, I'll cover our Facebook page real quick. It'll take a few minutes. We do have our Facebook page, of course. At this point, we have been resharing a lot of the information that is coming from Parks and Recreation directly in the city as they relate to projects and initiatives that will impact or will be impacting once again those areas that I covered briefly: parks, recreation,
I would like
art,
to request
history, things of that sort.
the item
so a lot of our visitors will see a repost from
vaccinations and the
from the city of Somerton as well.
continuum
Like, for example, the
of
Pedopalooza
the
event.
CDC guidelines.
We do have an alert that
addressing the
lets us know
pandemic
when a live
within
cast
our
is being
community.
broadcast. And
Like
there may be a 30-second
what
delay
I'm referring to
before
are the
we piggyback off
commercials,
of it,
like
but we are able to share it onto our page
the
as well.
PR
So
that was being
they
done
are
by the city of
live
Somerton,
MTV, you could say. So
the city
it is not like
council that
an hour
Jesus
or
was
2 day
heavily
delay
involved
that
in.
those videos go up. So
where they
still in
would
the process of
promote
trying to
like
automate
wearing
that,
the mask
so soon,
and all
but
those
at this
kinds of
point,
things with the
I get
CDC
alerted every
guidelines.
time
I would like to see
a
that,
live broadcast
like
comes up and we share
doing
it
that
along.
again right now due to the pandemic.
One thing that is coming up for our Facebook page is
include
our banner
the
on top.
vaccinations,
We had
educating our community about
in
the
regards
importance
to
of
opening it
the
up to the
vaccines.
public, so they can submit a photo that we can use to replace our existing banner on top. Something that'll make Somerton stand out and unique, and it can be anything having to do with parks, sports, recreation, the arts, history.
Well, I was thinking like,
once we gather all those
I guess
photos,
the question
put it up
is
to,
right now,
vote,
if we
a
can
gallery online
push for that.
and choose the
I don't
best
know if
one
we
and recognize
I'm
that
not sure
individual,
exactly how we
and they'll
need
be selected as our new banner page for
to process
the next,
this
year.
because
And it'll be a
I know
continuous
that
item moving
last time
forward
that I
so
brought
we
it up
can
about
increase community participation and recognition, because we do have a lot
the
of
safety
talented
of
individuals within the
wearing
community
masks
that
and social distancing and all that.
are out there.
I know
and
that
may need
that Jesus made it happen.
to get their work out there
and got city
recognition.
council involved
And
in
this can be
everything.
anything, whether it's a photo that's been taken,
So my
a
question
drawing
is,
that
I guess
was
right now, I mean,
drawn by
I want it as an
hand, or
item,
anything
yes,
like
but
that. As long
I
as
don't
it's
understand. I don't
your
not
own
sure
custom idea.
if there'll be a follow up.
And of course, it doesn't
like
violate
or
copyright
a planning
trademark
of it. I don't
items.
know.
I'll add that stipulation there, but nonetheless, we'll be developing the rules for that. Hopefully, we'll get off the ground around maybe the beginning of the summer, more or less, if not sooner. Aside from that, our follow count keeps growing every day. We're up to 358 followers.
Oh, very sorry.
We were, unfortunately, at one point, only like 90 individuals were following us. But the trend is, as we have more community events and participate more, we get a bit more traffic to our Facebook page. I want to say that when we did the holiday sports equipment drive, we received tons of new follows and individuals that were commenting and viewing our social media posts regarding that. So, not to sound like a broken record, the more we participate in the community and give back, I think the more our name will be out there. Because ultimately, we have a unique brand and that unique connection with the community, that we are that voice for them, between them and the city. And that is all I have as far as our social media, our current social media items are concerned. At one point, it was explored to also have an Instagram and a Twitter and TikTok, but in all reality, you don't want to satirize or overly saturate your followers, especially if they are on all those platforms. If you post something, then they're going to get like 6, 7 posts or alerts for the same item. So you got to find that balance. And I think at this point, we do have that balance of being online with our website and our Facebook page. What also helps is that City of Somerton Parks and Recreation also shares some of our posts from time to time, so it does go into their audience space as well. So it's dual purpose. I mean, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. If resources are there, awesome. We'll take advantage of them as well. But with that, I'll open it up to questions or comments regarding the Facebook page, and or if anything was missed regarding the website.
Just want to mention that the vaccination that's
awesome job. Awesome again.
And I want to end with saying that, I mean, if you, as commission members and Mr. Chair, if you guys have ideas that you would like covered on our Facebook page or the website, by all means, share them. We can always make it happen. We do have resources available. I know that for some of the stock photos that we have, I'll be staging some of them so that they are our custom photos and not photos from the web or open license photos. Because that also adds to your branding. I mean, nobody wants to visit a page that has generic photos of generic people from other communities. You want it to really focus on those that you serve, which is the city of Somerton, and hopefully have items that people will recognize as well. Like, hey, that's the
and I want to add that I've been following the Yuma government page, and they're posting,
regardless,
the vaccination rounds, who's starting when are they starting vaccination, what day, when can you register, that kind of thing. Like they're promoting it just like we should promote it. And what I'm thinking is that as Somerton City, we should be educating and promoting as well, and maybe even better than that.
Good job. Oh, thank you.
He says thank you.
Just like we did the mask, the wearing the mask.
We don't have any more.
I thought that was very, very good.
On the presentation
in relating to our community, where there was videos made of that. I think they were excellent.
Ongoing projects.
And I can see something like that being very beneficial.
Good evening, Commission Chair, Vice Chair, and members. Provide an update on the current status of these major projects. Currently, we've been working on several projects which are going to change our scope of work.
It'll be the reschedule of the previous item. It has to do with
our social media and our digital footprint. The Commission approved the purchase of updating our website services to professional level.
So I was mentioning,
rather than having our current providers.
A change order was approved as of last week.
Domain. So that's still in progress. That'll be an update on that. See where we're at and any updates to the page.
Some
I don't know if you just kind of fall into
minor changes were done. But it's going to be major.
Not that bad. The only thing is it still has the old census information.
But
that'll be removed tonight.
The intent is for it to be durable.
That'll be my item, social media
years,
and website update.
A good warranty on the surfacing. We don't want it to be breaking apart in 10 years, especially.
Another item, maybe not so much
a little bit complicated
item for new business, but maybe
there's a lot of
follow up with Public Works regarding the path lighting on Somerton Avenue between Main Street and Centennial Park.
Basically, we decided to move forward in addition.
We went
from
several weeks now.
4 inches of
at one point
to 5 inches.
The automated lighting was working, but it wasn't turning on until like 9:30 at night.
There'll be some framing and basically reinforcement of the slab.
And of course, another item that's been brought up is some of the signage on the poles.
Same project.
Still the old census information. And there was still some holiday stuff hanging as well.
The court is going to be intended for volleyball and basketball. It's going to have those options.
I thought I'd bring it up.
And it's going to be
constructed for that.
And lighting. We had some lighting donated by the Somerton School District. Lighting added on the second phase of this project, so it's going to be a good facility for the community. Brand new. The intent on the second phase is also to add some nice surfacing to it, similar to the epoxy or something similar to a tennis court that has a good presentation and the first time for the users. The logos of the city are being considered along with Cocoa Pow, which was a major contributor for that. Have the city logo, the Cocoa Pow logo, possibly something in the middle, like a basketball or a volleyball spin, half and half, something like that. It'll make it stand out. It's going to have a schedule. It's going to regulate the schedule. It's going to be during the week. It's going to be closing it down on the weekend. Just to have some control over that site. It's been so long without having our actual court here. We want to maintain it. Hopefully, vandalism and all that, it's going to be under control and supervised by people. That's any questions on that's one of our main project.
So, give us an update on the top part. Sure. The next meeting that any volunteers like basketball, you're doing it Saturday. Let me know so at least I can help. Enjoy. I usually play a little bit of something that can be and also I know that there's a lot of
the surface will be similar to a tennis court, that rougher surface. So it's going to provide some grip or some safety for the actual users, but it's not going to be a tennis court. It's only going to be a basketball and volleyball court.
So I mentioned okay.
Yeah,
we are going to move into the maintenance and next week.
And the Domino's project irrigation for the ball field was finished. It was a 2.5 month project. It was completed just last week.
You mentioned
there was a lot of holdups because the equipment
Main Street
delayed.
It'll be the path that runs. The path that runs by the apartment.
Now complete, so the irrigation is working well now. It's going to have full coverage on the outfield. There's not going to be any dry patches. Hopefully,
several weeks now.
That's going to help alleviate some of the actual footing and make it safer for the actual users. Before we reopen, the intent is to add some clay to the infields to level the fields. There's a lot of slopes. That's when it rains. You see a lot of puddles of water. We need to add some more clay to it. That's also going to be for JCC and of course the Commission. And we're considering the the other ball field, the middle school, like that would be up for consideration. Any comments on the Joe Munoz irrigation project?
I do have a comment, but not on the irrigation, more on the basketball court.
Yeah.
You mentioned that it'd be locked out for the weekend.
Thank you and good afternoon. So today being the Tuesday after a long weekend, we have 4 periods to report on today. Between Friday and Saturday, we had 452 new cases of COVID-19 diagnosed in British Columbia. From Saturday to Sunday, an additional 431 new cases. Between Sunday and Monday, 348 people were diagnosed with COVID-19. In the last 24 hours, we've had an additional 302 new cases. That is a total of 1,533 new cases diagnosed over the long weekend, 6 of whom were epidemiologically linked. And that brings our total number of people diagnosed with COVID-19 to 74,283 in British Columbia. Of the new cases, 392 are people who reside in the Vancouver Coastal Health Region, 856 are people in Fraser Health Region, 58 people reside on Vancouver Island, 92 are in the Interior Health Region, and 135 people were diagnosed in the Northern Health Region. We now have 4,189 active cases in all health authorities in British Columbia, of whom 231 people are in hospital, 74 of whom are in critical care or ICU. And an additional 7,136 people are under active public health monitoring, and 68,705 have now fully recovered. Over this past 4 days, we've had another 26 people across British Columbia who've died from COVID-19, bringing the total number of people to 1,314. As always, we know this is such a challenging and difficult time for families, for caregivers, and for communities to lose loved ones to this virus, and our condolences are with you, and our thoughts are with you today. We have 3 new healthcare outbreaks to report today at Eden Gardens, at Wexford Creek, and at Shaughnessy Care Centre. As well, we have 3 outbreaks that have been declared over at Heritage Square, at Concord by the Sea, and Holy Family Hospital. So we now have 15 active outbreaks in long-term care and assisted living, and 6 in acute care units, involving 561 residents and 349 staff. In the community, we've had an additional outbreak declared at Timothy Christian School in Chilliwack, and we've had an outbreak as well at SFU Childcare Society. And Fraser Health is involved with investigating and managing both of those. An update today on our variants of concern. To date, we've had a total of 60 people who've been infected with variants of concern. That's 40 of the B117 associated with the UK, 19 people who've been diagnosed with the B1351 variant that's originally associated with South Africa, and 1 person, as I mentioned last week, who has the B1525 variant that's been first detected in Nigeria. And when we talked about it last week, it was one that was called a variant under investigation, as they were still discussing nationally and internationally whether there were some of the changes, the mutations that this variant had that might confer an advantage in terms of transmission. And as of today, it has been noted as a variant of concern because of some of the mutations that are involved. Since the start of our immunization program, we're now up to 171,755 doses of a vaccine that have been administered in BC, and 22,914 of those are people who received a second dose as well. As we know, the past couple of weeks have been very limited in terms of supply, and we're really pleased to say that this week deliveries of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine are resuming. Some has arrived already, and more will be arriving in the coming days. There has been some short delays because of weather, both in the United States and across Canada, but this is encouraging. Our supply still remains somewhat limited, and we need to continue to build up our program as more supply comes in and we have more stability in the arrival of the vaccine over the coming couple of weeks and into March. We are focused really on providing the second doses, particularly to those people who are at highest risk, which are our residents and seniors in long-term care. I know that many people have had questions about what deferring the second dose for a period of time may mean for how well the vaccine works or vaccine effectiveness. And really, we've been following this, of course, very carefully in countries that started their immunization programs ahead of us, and looking at the data that's been collected from the UK, from Israel, and from here in Canada. And we have some early data from our long-term care homes here in British Columbia. We have some data that we've looked at over the weekend from Quebec, along with my colleagues. And there's evidence from the WHO and others showing that this delay of several weeks between the priming dose of these vaccines and the second dose, which is a booster dose, does not have a negative impact on vaccine effectiveness. What this means is that as our body is building up antibodies and our immune response is building after the first dose, that is sustained for a period of weeks. It may, in fact, and we know this from other vaccine programs and from how our immune system works, result in the end in a stronger and more long-lasting protection. Vaccines stimulate our immune system in several ways, but there's two main parts to our immune system that are stimulated when we receive an immunization. First, the vaccine triggers what we call antibodies, and these antibodies are the things that bind to that protein on the outside of the virus, the spike protein, and prevent it from binding to our cells and getting into our body and being able to replicate. And that is what we see first. We see these antibodies increase over a period of days to weeks after we're immunized. It's one of the things that we can measure most easily, because we can measure what we call neutralizing antibodies, or the antibodies that actually affect that spike protein in the blood. And it's something that we know is a marker of how well we are protected from infection. But there's also a part of our immune system called the cellular immune system. So these are things that are cells that are in our blood, what are called B cells and T cells. And these are cells that live in our lymph node and in our blood system, and they take time to fully develop. And they also modify and they react to the things like the protein on the outside of the virus. And it's these cells that take longer to build up, but are longer lasting as well. The memory of these antigens in the T cells and B cells, our cell-mediated immunity, is what protects us over the long term. And we know from immunology, we know from other vaccine programs that having a longer interval between your priming dose and your booster dose allows those cells to develop as well, and may be the reason why we have a more longer lasting benefit if we have a longer gap between the first and the second dose. It is still too early for us to know how long this initial immunity lasts in people, but we do know that the current vaccines are very effective, and the data from around the world shows us that this protection does last for many weeks. Here in BC, we've been monitoring residents of long-term care homes and have been connecting them to people who have developed COVID-19. And what we've seen is that in the 3 weeks after the initial vaccine in long-term care residents, the protective effect of the virus is 89%, almost 90%. So that is really good news for all of us. And it supports the fact that we have good protection even after a single dose. As a scientist and somebody who's worked in the field of vaccines for quite a long time, this is actually incredibly exciting and positive news that we have this very high level of protection in seniors here in BC from this first dose of the vaccine. And we do know that these immediate and positive results are something that we rarely see with vaccine programs. And it is good for as long as several weeks to months. So while it is important to get that second dose, and we will be focusing on doing that, especially in people who are most at risk, we are reassured that delaying that for weeks, even to months, and in the UK and in Quebec, they're looking at 90 days or 3 months for the second dose. We know we have a buffer where we can safely delay the second dose if needed to make sure that our operational issues, that enough vaccine comes to be able to provide those second doses. So that's what we'll be focusing on, and we'll be monitoring very carefully so that we can tell if we start to see a decrease in protection effects. The other thing that we have learned, of course, throughout our pandemic here in BC is that the tide can turn quickly, and that successes that we have had in getting our transmission down and preventing outbreaks can also be washed away quickly. While the overall number of new cases has slowly been coming down and is lower than it was a few weeks ago, it is still very high in terms, much higher than we want it to be. And we are also once again seeing increases in some regions more than others. Particularly, we've seen cases start to stabilize as the outbreaks have been settling down in the interior. We're still having challenging times, of course, in the north in many communities, but on the island as well, things are starting to be managed. But we are very concerned that in some of our higher population areas, particularly in the Fraser Health Region and Vancouver Coastal Health Region, we're starting to see an uptick. And what we see in terms of cases today reflects what has happened as long as 2 weeks ago. So what we've started to see in the last week is the 7-day rolling average of numbers of cases has started to creep up, particularly in Fraser Health. The percent positive, so the number of cases that we have, of number of people who've been tested and the percent who test positive, and the 7-day rolling average of that also is ticking up, particularly in Fraser Health. And the third thing that we monitor for, that we present in our modeling data, is that reproductive number. And we want it to be consistently below 1, and as far below 1 as we can get it, because that is our buffer. So that means how many people, on average, is a single case transmitting to. And if it's above 1, we know that that means growth can happen very quickly. And in the last week, we've started to see this rise above 1 in some regions of the province, particularly in the Fraser Health Region. We know that when we start to have transmission from multiple people to multiple people, it grows what we call exponentially. So that means if I pass it on to 2 people, each of them passes it on to 2 people. Very quickly, we get to 4, we get to 16, we get to 256 within 2 generations. So these are the things that we need to pay attention to now. While the numbers seem like they're reasonable, the fact that we're seeing an increase in the reproductive number means that we're not having those safe interactions as much as we need to be. We need to reduce the transmission events that are happening in our community. Once we start to see increases, they rise very quickly, and then we go back to playing catch up again, because the long incubation period, 2 weeks, what we do today affects what's going to happen next week and the week after. So it's often, once we start to play catch up, it takes much longer to get the numbers back down. We know it doesn't take much for this spread to get out of control, which is why everything that we do individually makes a difference collectively. If you have symptoms of COVID-19, you must stay home, to stay away from others and arrange to get tested. For employers, if people who work for you are ill, you need to support them to stay home. This is important not just on an individual basis, but means that your business is protected as well. This is not just a Lower Mainland issue. We've seen this before too, where it starts in the higher population areas, but we know that we still move for various reasons, and it can spread widely around the province very quickly. We have to remember that today's new cases are the result of our actions as long as 2 weeks ago. But what's more important is that what each of us does today is what is going to determine our future. The precautions we take today will define how we fare 2 weeks from now. And what we do makes a difference. We have seen that even small social gatherings can spread exponentially when people go from that small games night that you had together to spreading to schools, spreading to workplaces, spreading to other settings. We need to stay the course with keeping our numbers small, keeping our interactions with others safe. And that means staying away if we're ill, covering our mouth when we cough, keeping our safe distance, wearing our masks, and cleaning our hands. Continuing to follow our public health restrictions and guidance that we have right now is what will lead us into the spring, even as we get our vaccination programs back up and running at full speed once again. So this is a week that's near and dear to my heart. It is what's known as the Random Act of Kindness Week. And I implore all of you to remember this as we get through this phase of our pandemic together, and to remember that kindness is something that is infectious as well. And I remind you all to be kind, to be calm, and to be safe.
We don't really need a ramp, but in the future it would be nice to have a large bowl, like a pool type of bowl. And that's hopefully going to come in the second phase. That's being considered for the second phase, and it's going to be part of the actual design. And of course, for the HVAC is basically a work in progress.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
The load management
and happy Lunar New Year's to everybody. Gong Hei Fat Choi to everyone. For today, we have 445 new cases that have been diagnosed with COVID-19, 6 of whom are epidemiologically linked cases, bringing our total number of people with COVID-19 in British Columbia to 72,750. Of the new cases, 135 are people in the Vancouver Coastal Health Region, 218 are people who reside in the Fraser Health Region, 15 are in the Vancouver Island Health Region, 44 people live in the Interior Health Region, and 30 are in the Northern Health Region. In addition, we have 3 new cases in people who normally reside outside of Canada. We now have 4,347 active cases across the province, of whom 226 people are in hospital, 61 of whom are in critical care or ICU. And an additional over 7,035 people continue to be under public health monitoring, with 67,008 people now recovered from COVID-19. Again today, unfortunately, we have 10 new deaths to report of people, mostly seniors in long-term care, who've died from COVID-19, bringing the total number of people in British Columbia to 1,288. Our condolences go out to the families and the care providers and the communities who have lost their loved ones during this very difficult time.
Be more present with parks. That's an area that
we have one new healthcare outbreak in an assisted living facility, the Chartwell Carrington Place, where we have a single staff member and a single resident affected so far. And two outbreaks have been declared over at the University Hospital of Northern BC, where there were several units where had outbreaks, and at the Royal Columbian Hospital. And I do also want to note one of the outbreaks, one of the more tragic outbreaks that we've had in long-term care at the Jubilee Lodge in Northern Health was finally declared over yesterday, and our thoughts are with the community in that facility.
And of course,
we now have 16 active outbreaks in long-term care and assisted living and 6 in acute care units involving 541 residents and 344 staff. In addition, we have a new community outbreak in the Bruce Jack Mine in Northern Health. Since the start of our immunization program, we're now up to 162,982 doses of COVID-19 vaccine that has been administered in British Columbia, and of these, 17,562 people have received 2 doses of the vaccine. As we know, in the past couple of weeks, we've had very limited vaccine supply, but thankfully, starting next week, deliveries of our Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine will start to resume at much higher levels, and we expect to have a significant bump in supply in the coming weeks. This will allow us to fully resume our province-wide immunization program, focusing as we have been in phase 1 on those most at risk of having severe illness or dying and people who are in the front lines of our healthcare system. And we're very excited that we're going to be ramping that up in the next few weeks. And very soon we'll be able to expand into the community groups, particularly our seniors and elders. As I'm sure many people have noticed, we've also seen a notable decrease in transmission and outbreaks in long-term care and assisted living facilities as immunization has rolled out. And this is clear evidence of the effectiveness of the vaccines and extremely encouraging news, and I know a relief to everybody who has family members in care homes. As new cases continue to decrease in long-term care, we also need to continue to decrease our transmission in our communities. We are trending in the right direction, pushing our curve down, but slowly, and we need to ensure our success sticks. This means staying the course with our layers of protection and continuing to follow all of our public health restrictions and guidance. This weekend, we need to pay particular attention to ensure that the progress we have made is not wasted. And I think Mother Nature is going to be on our side there, where it's going to be a challenging weekend for many people to travel. This is even more important as variants of concern that we've talked about are circulating in our community. To date, we've had a total of 46 confirmed variant cases in British Columbia. 29 of the B117, or the originally found in the UK, and 17 of the B1.351, originally associated with South Africa. In the past week and a bit, the BC CDC lab, in conjunction with our provincial labs, have been doing ongoing surveillance to help us better understand how many of these variants of concern, people infected with these variants of concern we have in the province, and they did what's called a point prevalence assessment, where we screened every positive case between January 30th and February 5th with a marker to see if they might contain these variants of concern. And of 3,099 positive cases that were screened, there were 3 that were confirmed by whole genome sequencing to be variants of concern, one of which was a South African associated variant, and the other 2 were from the UK. So this is reassuring. It tells us that we don't have high levels of transmission in our communities, but that we still need to be cautious and continue to monitor. In addition, in the past week, we've identified another variant that is under investigation internationally and across Canada. We've had a single case of this variant. It's been associated with Nigeria and traveled to Nigeria. And the single case that we've had here in British Columbia was a person who had traveled to Nigeria. And it's being labeled the B1.525 variant. So it's a new one to add to our lexicon. We aren't entirely clear yet whether this variant also has increased transmissibility or causes more severe illness. But our lab team is working with their counterparts across the country and internationally to get a better understanding of what this can mean.
Any questions for
the emergence of these variants, of course, makes us all concerned here in BC. They've shown in many places around the world that they do confer an advantage in that these viruses tend to spread more quickly, and now more evidence that they might cause more severe illness. As we have seen, the choices that we make today, as well as the plans we make for tomorrow, make a difference to all of us. We are in some ways playing catch-up with this virus and breaking those chains of transmission, preventing that next infection is what we need right now to buy us that time to get our immunization programs back up to speed again and to help us give that protection buffer against these new variant viruses that are emerging around the world and here in BC. I know so many people in British Columbia are doing just that, doing their part every day. And you've chosen things like fewer cases and fewer places to keep your local community, your family safe. I know you'll be doing the same this long weekend, and I am so appreciative of that. Thank you to everyone. On this first day of the Lunar New Year, it's a time to reflect on the challenges that we have overcome since this time last year and the progress that we have made. It's also our time to look to our brighter days ahead. I hope everybody has an enjoyable Family Day weekend, and please remember to be kind, be calm, and to be safe.
This is a good chance to, I don't know, or even event, for example, we had Petaluzza. It just happened. But there was nothing on the
Thank you very much, Dr. Henry, and I'm enjoying Dr. Henry, and on behalf of the Premium Government and the people of BC, to pass on my condolences to the families, the friends, the caregivers of the 10 people who passed away from COVID-19 in the last 24 hours in BC. Many of them in long-term care as we deal with outbreaks that occurred in long-term care in November and December and January that are ongoing. I wanted to note that we have 226 people currently diagnosed positive for COVID-19 in acute care hospitals across BC. That's 61 of those people are in ICU at present. And if we look at the overall hospitalization rate for obviously COVID-19, all the other things that bring people to hospital, our base bed occupancy rate is 90.3%. There's 910 empty base beds in our hospital system. 72% occupancy rate amongst all beds. That includes the significant number of surge beds that were added to prepare for COVID-19. That leaves 3,337 beds in ICU. Our occupancy rate is 77.1%, which leaves 122 ICU beds available for new patients that are effectively empty at present. And our occupancy rate, including ICU surge beds, is 54.7%, which is 344 additional beds that are currently vacant. So that situation continues as it has been. That doesn't mean that, especially in hospitals in BC, such as St. Paul's, such as Royal Union, there aren't profound stresses as there are in all of our hospitals as a result of COVID-19. But we continue in our acute care sector to have the ability to manage that. Dr. Henry talked about the 162,982 immunizations have taken place in BC, including 17,562 received both doses. As Dr. Henry noted, that we are expecting over the last 3 weeks, we received about 21,000 doses of the Pfizer vaccine over 3 weeks. And next week, we are expecting to receive considerably more, according to the federal government, 54,990.
Okay,
and obviously, because we're doing both first and second doses,
to provide the actual resources, right? I'm supposed to share about this?
Half of the Pfizer immunizations
just to clarify.
Second doses. And most of the Moderna, which has also been slowed, as all of you will know.
Social media
what we're hoping to do and
our
continue
city
to do
of
is continue
Somerton,
to now complete
and
second doses in long-term care. And Dr. Henry has spoken about the extraordinary
vaccinations and what
success
phone
of
number to
immunization in
call.
long-term care
And
in BC.
they've been doing a really good job with that. So I don't know if Jesus talked to them after we brought it up in our commission meeting, or it just was coincidence. I don't know.
That gives you a sense of
I've noticed
what
that
to expect.
they're promoting it. So that's exactly
this
what I
briefing
was.
every week, we bring you up to date on progress
month.
on our surgery renewal commitment. As people will know, non-urgent surgeries were canceled now on March 16th and May 17th in BC. The health authorities resumed non-urgent surgeries on May 18th and completed a total of 244,245 surgeries as of February 7, 2021, of which 191,120 were urgent and non-urgent scheduled surgeries, and 53,125 were unscheduled or emergency surgeries. With each week, we build on these achievements.
So
Our surgical renewal progress shows what is possible when we come together as healthcare providers, administrators, and community members, and I, for one, am grateful. And with that, here's the latest weekly report. The total surgeries completed by health authorities since May 18th, 66,675 in Fraser Health, 45,136 in Interior Health, 14,012 in Northern Health, 57,961 in Vancouver Coastal Health, 50,641 on Vancouver Island, 9,820 in the Provincial Health Services Authority. Weekly totals of surgeries completed from January 25th to January 31st was 7,314, or 165 more surgeries than in the same year last year.
That's exactly what I was
we're so appreciative for everyone who's worked on this initiative and who are making this ongoing progress possible and know what it means to families everywhere. This is a significant weekend for many people in British Columbia.
What we needed.
The beginning of Lunar New Year celebrations, of course, today.
I'm glad to hear that they're working hard on that.
I want to express my appreciation to the Chinese Canadian community in Vancouver, in Greater Vancouver, Richmond, and all of the communities across BC.
They can't,
the Vietnamese
like our elderly, for example,
and many other communities
our elderly are going to have a hard time going online and registering online for
extraordinarily
their
committed
so making it more accessible with phone numbers,
in that regard.
Direct
and I know
lines
that
to
this
call,
weekend
also,
we're going to celebrate in our community's Lunar New Year's in a way that's safe for everybody, and I appreciate everybody's contribution to that. Sunday, of course, is Valentine's Day and then Family Day, which means that we have to understand the need to operate and to continue to operate differently, consistent with the pandemic, to make this BC Family Household Day long weekend, gathering only with those that you live with. And if we're on our own, it's one or two people we've been with all along. COVID-19 and its variants mean we cannot vary our COVID fighting routine. COVID-19 is all around in BC. You see that in the numbers today. So for us, it's essential travel only. Low risk is where we need to be, and staying local is the way to get there. That means we need to, that until COVID-19 is in the past tense, we must live in the moment and keep using our COVID sense. This weekend, next weekend, and beyond. Let's make it a happy and safe Lunar New Year and BC Family Household Day long weekend. Let's use our COVID sense. Let's stop the spread. Let's play our key role in the vaccination plan. And by doing all of that, to save lives together and to celebrate our families, our communities in these extraordinary and important days.
Numbers. It's kind of a generic, massive distribution. So they actually, I guess they use the data bank of phone numbers that the city has, because it was just a general announcement in both English and Spanish, inviting the Somerton residents to who actually ages from 65, I believe, and older to get
42 ridings in DC by hypothesis of candidates nominated.
They did a very good job.
I think you're right. Yeah, our goal is to have candidates in every riding in a couple of days from now in BC and all across the country also. But not only candidates, but also we have riding associations, organizations in every riding, and that's important. Different than the Green and the NDP, they can nominate a candidate, but there's no organization on the ground. So if you go on the Election Canada website, you'll see that we have 338 ridings association.
So are you 90%
questions
of the candidates nominated right now?
No, about
at this point?
80%. That's the number that the head office gave me this morning. But would be there. Would be there. We still have until the 30th of September. And a lot of our candidates are having their appointment and meeting with their returner official, Election Canada returner official there. So I know that a lot of them are having meeting actually this afternoon and tomorrow.
At this point,
your party says that it's
I don't have anything
5 to 6% in some BC ridings. Are there some that you're targeting in particular that you think you can?
I only have one thing. It'll be to present a draft of the amendment.
Yeah, I like the question. It's very difficult for us. We're a new political party, and we don't do any polling. What I'm saying, and I'm saying that personally, around 5 and 6%. Why? Because every poll that you can see, they don't ask the first question if they when they are asking a question, and after that they're saying, do you think they're going to vote for the Liberals or Conservative? They're naming the other parties, but they don't name our party. It's under orders party. So the first question, they don't name us, and so that's a little bit unfair. But if you had the people who are supporting us and people who said that they're going to vote for another party, it's about 5 and 6%, and I think that's a real score. So, and the question about targeting a riding.
Well,
I'll give you an example.
Considering that
we had the best
we don't
score
have anything on our
in
agenda
February with Laurent Thompson in Burnaby South. That is an NDP riding. And we had only 5% of the vote at the by-election in February in a Conservative riding.
Actually discussing.
So we don't know. We can win seat. We can win
what do you think?
NDP riding. We can win some Conservative riding or Liberal riding because people who are supporting us. Maybe 45% of them are former Conservative, but a lot of them, people who voted for Jean Chrétien and Paul Martin for a balanced budget and lower taxes, and Justin Trudeau for a balanced budget. Some of them are coming to us. Some NDP are coming to us. I have all in Newfoundland are people there that are working with us, former NDP. They want to support us because we're the only party who will abolish supply management and also no more subsidies to big business and corporate welfare. So targeting ridings, it's difficult, and that's why what we did when Mr. Johnston asked us to give him some polling for participating in the debate, our answer was, this is 5 or 6 riding when we have candidates that are well known in their riding and that may help because they have a reputation in their riding, like Renata Ford and like also
that we can provide
Stephen
donations
Fletcher.
for students.
So people who are known in their riding, and so I think
like another drive or something.
A better chance to win because for their name and plus the party and plus my reputation.
Can we discuss that?
So answering your question, I don't know which riding we can win in BC.
Fellow commissioners, chime in.
And I try to travel just across here and meet our candidates and helping them.
I don't have anything right now. Thank you.
Laura Lynn
you're
is
welcome.
well known in her riding. The NDP and the Green didn't run.
Mr. Chair, I had one item I forgot to list, if I may. I'd like to also discuss.
Is that really a fair assessment? She polled at 10.6% at the ballot box, but I'm not sure that's a fair assessment. I'm not sure you're going to see that.
Going back to the presentation I gave, we do have
Yeah, but don't forget, that was only 3 months after the creation of the party. This party exists for the last, we started that last September, so now 11 months. So that was a good score, and I agree with you, but that was a good score after only 3 months. So after 11 months, I think now more people know that we exist.
Now, we, earlier this year in 2019, had a by-election in Nanaimo Ladysmith. Your candidate there just got 3%.
Yeah.
Does that concern you?
No, the biggest challenge that we have, it is not about our policies. It is the fact that maybe 0.5% of the population don't know that we exist. 52% of Canadians are saying that they're ready to vote for a new party at the federal level. We are the only new party at the federal level. So our challenge, and I did door-to-door here in BC, and I can tell you, maybe half of the door, they didn't know that we exist. So that's why it's so important for us to participate in these national debates. And our participation, people will be able to look at our policy and understand that, yes, we are the only new political party in Canada that is doing politics differently. So our challenge is to be known. Our challenge is not on policies. So it's perfect.
So give your best pitch to people in British Columbia about why a vote for your party is not a wasted vote. Why? What is it about your platform that speaks specifically to British Columbia? What can you do for this province?
Well, first of all, I think the economy and immigration, that's two important policies that we are speaking on, and other political parties don't speak about immigration. And I think it is important to have a discussion about immigration. And we need to have more economic immigrants. I agree with that. But this year we'll receive 320,000 newcomers this year, but only 26% of them will be economic immigrants. Yes, we want fewer immigrants. We're the only political party that are looking for fewer immigrants. But at the same time, we want more economic immigrants, so a bigger ratio. Instead of 26%, our ratio will be 50%. So what I'm saying to people who are concerned for the future of this country, we have a solution for that. We want to have a discussion on immigration. And people are proud. We want to have the discussion because we love this country. We like this country. This country has been built by immigrants, by francophones, anglophones, First Nations, immigrants from all over the world. And they came under rules. They came under a point system. And they came and they had an interview, a face-to-face interview when they came. It's not the case anymore. So let's have a discussion about immigration. And when you have 49% of the population that agree with us, and said that they want fewer immigrants, and only 6% of them are saying that they want more immigrants. So we're not radical when we're saying that. We're just engaging the debate. And if you believe in this country, you want to be sure that also we'll have a balanced budget. And we're the only party to speak about that.
Before we get to the budget, I don't want to leave the topic of immigration. I'm curious about how you square your position on immigration in a very multicultural city like Vancouver, where
that was me,
billboards, and within days, I had to do it there were people opposed to those billboards and asked to take them down. And the billboard said, I believe, something like no to mass immigration. That doesn't appear to be a message that people in Vancouver want to hear.
No, I think people in Vancouver, like in other big cities in this country, we understand that Canada is a diverse country, and we have people that are in Vancouver and other big cities and small ones also from diverse ethnicity and also coming from other countries. But diversity is good. We're not against diversity. We're against more and more and more diversity. Like Justin Trudeau, when he said diversity is our strength, we don't believe in that. What unites us, it is our strength, and we must focus on that. So when I did my announcement on the immigration policy, I was in Mississauga, in Ontario. And if you look at the videos and if you look at the crowd, we had people from different faiths. We have people, Muslim people, Jewish people, Christian people, Sikh people, people from different faiths that were there and also that are candidates for our party, and also people from different origin, from China, from India, from Africa.
No, thank you.
That was a diverse crowd. And perfect, but these people, they came here under certain rules, and they want that to be like that. Now it's a kind of open borders. Everybody can come. We don't have a face-to-face interview with each one of them. We don't ask them question about their values. We want to be sure that a person will come here. First of all, they will share our Canadian values, and we have a discussion about that. Equality between men and women, equality before the law, the separation with state and religion. That's all Canadian values. So what I'm telling you is here in Vancouver, yes, that's diverse, and that's great.
But you had protests this morning, sir.
Yeah.
I understand there are protesters coming tonight.
Yeah. It's okay.
There are people who believe that your policies on immigration
are what?
are racist. Right? You hear that.
But because they don't want,
white supremacists.
yeah, but that's not true. Because they don't want to have the discussion. Our opponent don't want to have this discussion, and they are speaking like that. But that's the free speech in this country. We must, free speech is not only telling you what you want to hear. When you're free to express your opinion, you must be free. I'm telling you something that maybe you don't like. Maybe you want to have more immigrants, and I want to have fewer immigrants. But that's not Canadians what they're doing. They don't want to have that discussion, and I don't have any problem with them protesting. But what I'm telling them, let's have a discussion about that. So they use this white supremacist and racist card because they don't want to discuss. Just have a discussion. For me, everybody who knows Maxime Bernier and my what I did the last 30 years in politics, I don't have to justify myself that I'm not a racist, and I won't play that game. I want to speak about our policies, and these people doesn't want to have that discussion. They are intolerant, and I'm not. And starting by Jagmeet Singh, I'm looking forward to have a debate with him about immigration. And if you're saying that our policy is racist, you're saying that 49% of Canadians are racist because 49% of Canadians want fewer immigrants.
I'm going to squeeze in some questions about the climate before we run out of time with you today. You and I are having this conversation on a week that youth across the world are galvanizing in these global
Does Brisa's job description change now, or is it the same?
Where are your policies on the environment?
I'm not a climate denier. I know that the climate is always changing. Actually, that's the normality in climate. Climate is always changing. That's the normality. And what I'm saying that right now, Justin Trudeau and also the other leaders like Scheer, when they're lying to the population, when they're saying that they will achieve the Paris Accord targets with their policies, it's not true. And the UN said that before, that Justin Trudeau, with a carbon tax of $50 a ton, won't be able to achieve the Paris Accord targets. It's not coming from me, it's coming from... No. Okay, so they won't... When they're saying to the Canadian population that they will achieve the targets, they're lying, they're hypocrites. Same thing for Andrew Scheer. He said, I want to impose a carbon tax, but I want to impose more regulation on businesses, and I want to impose also a tax on the big business. So they're lying to the population. They won't be able to do that. I'm not lying to the population. I'm saying I won't sign the Paris Accord. The environment is a shared jurisdiction with provinces, and if they want to fight climate change, they can do that. Like my own province in Quebec, they have a cap and trade system, and so the carbon tax in Quebec won't apply because they have a cap and trade system. So I'm saying to Canadians, there's no climate emergency in this country. There's no. Do you see emergency? There's no emergency in this country. We must have a discussion, but these people are saying we must panic. Like Greta said in New York, we must panic. I want you to feel my fears. That's not responsible. She's asking our students not to go to school, to protest. It's not responsible. And a lot of kids right now, yes, that's happening, yes. A lot of kids are anxious because they don't know their future. They think that will be the end of the world in 10 years. It is not responsible. there's no panic. And they're saying that we must panic, we must not debate, because they don't want to debate. And we cannot base a public policy on fears and panic and sentiment. You must base a public policy on reason and facts. And there's a lot of scientists that are saying the main reason for the climate change, it is not human activity in this planet. It is not the main reason. It can be one reason, but not the main one. That's our position. And I know that the climate is changing. I know what's happening right now. I know that, yes, the level of oceans are rising, but that's not the end of the world. We must not change our way of life for that. So that's what I'm saying. And I'm honest with Canadians about climate change. And I'm saying there's no panic over there. So that's why there's no crisis for sure. Where is the crisis? Tell me.
I'm not running for office.
No. The ocean are rising, and that's not new. That's happening. Look at Al Gore. You can YouTube it.
No, I don't want to talk about it.
No. But I want Canadians to. I want Canadians to look at Al Gore, what he did, the documentary, and he was saying in 2000, if we do anything, that would be the end of the world. And now every 10 years they're saying that. So that's not responsible, and I don't play that game.
I don't want to talk about Al Gore because I think there's enough experts right here in Canada who would argue that we're in a climate emergency, but we've dealt with that topic, and I'd like to move on to pipelines. You're pro-pipeline.
Yes.
And
use the Constitution to be sure to build pipelines after consultation with provinces and First Nation. And it's so important for the prosperity and the security of this prosperity and the unity of this country. When you have 25% of Albertans that are saying that are looking at separation because of equalization and pipeline, you must do something. We can build a pipeline in this country in 2019 with the new technology that will be safe for the environment, but most importantly, safe for the population. And yes, I'm for pipeline, and we'll do everything to build a pipeline, and we'll be ready to use the Constitution, the Section 9210, to be able to approve, because when you use the Constitution, the Section 9210, the federal government will have the full authority, the full responsibility to approve pipelines all across this country. And we use that clause in the Constitution more than 300 times since Confederation to build national infrastructure. So yes, I have a very different position than all the other leaders, and I'm telling Canadians it's time to build pipelines by the private sector in this country.
Was Justin Trudeau right to buy Transnet?
That's why I said
he did that because all of his regulation and his policy. So there's no more private sector, no more private corporation that wanted to build pipeline under this condition. We need to abolish and repeal Bill C-48, repeal Bill C-69, streamline the process, and it's because of these two bills and the process that the private sector doesn't want to build any pipeline in this country. So it's because of his policy. But for us, we'll have the right policies, and I can tell you that the private sector will be able to build pipelines in this country.
Two last quick questions, because I'm getting a signal from your handlers that we're running out of time. Very briefly, your most successful candidate is Laura Lynn Thompson. She is very much an anti-soji believer.
That's her personal,
I want to know what your personal opinion is about elementary school.